What's up with rural New York? So when you think of New York, you're probably going to think of yellow cabs and sky high rents and maybe that feeling being perpetually late with the subway, which is accurate, but that is just New York City. So outside of this famous skyline is a pretty massive, beautiful, and now here's the thing, a really struggling part of rural New York. And it's facing almost like a ridiculous paradox that you really can't stop talking about. Now, the homes are going to be affordable, like genuinely affordable. You can afford to buy an actual house with a yard and maybe a porch for the cost of a down payment on like a shoebox apartment in Brooklyn. That is a really huge, valuable asset. But people are still leaving, and especially young people in rural New York, and that's important. It's an economic mystery, except it's not a mystery. It is what you call a systems problem, and it's driven by three interconnected issues that we got to untangle. So if you think about it, the first issue is going to be like a demographic squeeze going on. Rural New York is getting older, way older. More people are dying than are being born, which people policy call a natural decrease. It's kind of a clinical way of saying, uh oh. And when young adults leave for college or jobs, they don't often come back. Population shrinks. The remaining population is going to age out of the workforce. So now you might be thinking, all right, who cares if a place gets old? Well, here's who cares. You get a shrinking, aging population. That means fewer workers, less money spent locally, and a shrinking tax base. But here's the kicker, that shrinking tax base still has to support the same infrastructure, schools and roads and hospitals. So, what do you think happens? Services get cut, schools consolidate, local hospitals start shutting down critical wings like maternity wards, which, if you're trying to have a baby, is going to be kind of a deal breaker. Then you've got the second issue, the service desert. Now, if you have essential services disappear, it makes it even harder for families who do want to move back. If there's no quality childcare, if there's no jobs for both partners, if there's no reliable broadband internet, well, you can kind of forget about it. And can we talk about the broadband thing for a second? The lack of reliable, high speed internet access in rural areas is a massive self inflicted economic wound in America. It means no remote work, no modern education. You don't have the ability to kind of participate in today's economy, trying to run a race with your shoelaces tied together. Starlink might be the answer for that. Third answer, third problem, the opportunity gap. The jobs that are often there are often concentrated in traditional sectors. Manufacturing's moved down south. Agriculture requires way fewer people than it used to. And there's a real brain drain because there just aren't enough diverse, modern, high paying jobs for college graduates. Man, so you get stuck in this vicious cycle. Young people leave, the tax base shrinks, services get cut, the area becomes less appealing, more young people leave. That is a big problem. It's going to upset a lot of voters. But here's the thing, you got to stop thinking about this as some sort of permanent decline and start seeing it as an incredible opportunity because we've got the affordable housing there. We just need to build the life that's around them to attract young people. So if you think about it, there's a couple of things you can fix. You want to build a new economy. You don't want to try to revive the old stuff. You can't wait for a factory from 1970 to come back because it is not going to come back. You got to be innovative. One good example is Grow New York, which is a food and agriculture business competition. It's going to attract high tech startups in agritech, food and science and sustainability, and most importantly, requires them to create jobs right there in the region. You need more programs that are going to leverage the land and local assets, but you build it with a 21st century twist. Second strategy is you want better quality of life and infrastructure. You simply can't have a modern economy without modern services. The first priority, well, universal high speed broadband. It's not really a luxury, it is a utility today like electricity. You give people fast internet, they can keep their city jobs, live in a big, cheap house, and they can pay taxes locally. We also need serious investment in accessible healthcare and honestly, more recreation and cultural life. The quality of life is the real amenity here. And then you can leverage the inherent strengths of rural New York. Now, you go up there, rural New York is stunningly beautiful. Instead of just thinking manufacturing, we want to double down on tourism and recreation and retirement communities. Think about places that market their natural assets effectively. They end up becoming destinations for us, not just for visitors, but for remote workers and entrepreneurs that want a better balance than city life can offer. Now, the path forward for rural New York isn't really one magic bullet. It's a coordinated effort going on. It's about taking a huge undervalued asset of affordable housing And you want to pair it with a deliberate strategy to build a diverse modern economy and essential services and connectivity that make it a place where people don't just visit, but where you want to stay and live, where you want to work, and where you want to raise a family. So that's totally achievable.